Nigeria, with a population now above 200 million and projected to continue growing rapidly, as one of the Africa and world largest domestic markets and labor forces. This is an opportunity we must seize to turn the future of our country around. Nigeria cannot import its way to prosperity. We will produce more of what we produce, process more of what we produce, and compete more effectively.
All right. This is my reaction to Obi's campaign speech. All right. The substance is there. The next stage is to make the substance more emotionally compelling, more specific, more politically aggressive where necessary, and then much easier for ordinary Nigerians to remember. Now, what did Obi did well? One, he sounded presidential rather than mere partisan. On one of the strongest elements, was his attempt to elevate the campaign above ethnic and religious politics. He framed the election as an opportunity for Nigerians to examine the records, ideas, and capacity of every candidate. He also challenged presidential candidates to come directly before Nigerians and defend their records. Okay? That is the presidential language. He wasn't simply saying, vote for me because the other people are bad. His argument was essentially, examine everybody, ask questions, and then demand results. That is a good foundation to start. Now, secondly, Nigerian can work and Nigeria must work. It's an excellent central message he keep repeatedly using. Because I was writing it down. That line is probably one of the strongest political phrases from the address. It is optimistic without pretending that Nigerian problems are small. Okay? Obi first described poverty, food insecurity, unemployment, insecurity, weak infrastructure, and unreliable electricity, then moved to the argument that Nigeria still has the people, resources, market, and then the talent to overcome all these problems. That's much better politically than simply giving Nigerians a catalog of problems. Thirdly, the consumption to production argument is clear and economically understandable. His message that Nigeria cannot import its way to prosperity and that the country must produce more of what it consumes. Process what it produces and also compete internationally, gives the campaign an indefeasible economic philosophy. That is important because a presidential campaign needs more than things are bad. It needs an answer to it. Okay? Now, what is your economic model? Obi is beginning to provide one. He connected the economy to security. Then another positive is that he didn't treat insecurity purely as a military problem. He connected insecurity with agriculture, education, trade and investment, and proposed better intelligence coordination, policing, border management, and also technology. That's closer to how a president should discuss national security. Security as a foundation for economic and social development. Fifth, he is presenting himself as an accountable manager rather than a messianic politician. His emphasis on responsible public spending, measurable outcomes, and a government being judged by whether citizens are actually better off is consistent with the image he has been cultivated since his Anambra governorship days. That is one of the Obi's strongest political assets, connecting with the people. But here is where I think the presentation falls short. This is where I would be constructively critical, especially if the objective is to turn Peter Obi from a popular opposition candidate into a convincing president in waiting. One, It was too much of a policy statement and not enough of a presidential moment. That is probably my biggest criticism. If you watch my first video, a presidential campaign launch should make millions of people feel this is a man ready to take charge of Nigeria. Obi gave Nigerians a competent diagnosis of Nigerian problem, but a diagnosis is not the same thing as demonstrating presidential authority. There were many good ideas, but the presentation could have contained more commanding declarations. For example, what are the first 5 things an Obi Kwankwaso government will do? What happens during the first 100 days? What happens during the first year? What measurable economic target will they pursue? What will happen to electricity? What will happen to insecurity? What will happen to the Naira? And what will happen to the Nigerian manufacturing? What will happen to education? And what will happen to unemployment? The speech tells Nigeria where he wants Nigerians to go. Okay? The next speeches need to show Nigerians exactly how he intends to get there. Secondly, consumption to production is a powerful slogan. Statement also, but need numbers. This slogan can become the economic backbone of his candidacy. But Obi need to go much further. For example, what does production actually means? If I were advising the campaign, all right, I would demand that every major economic promise answer 5 questions. Okay? Answer 5 questions. What? How? How much? When? Who is responsible? All right? For example, instead of simply saying Nigeria will increase agricultural production, we will transform agriculture. Okay? Tell Nigerians, within 4 years, we intend to increase X, expand irrigation by Y, establish Z processing facilities, reduce post-harvest losses by X percentage, and increase measurable export capacity. I don't know if you guys understand what I said. By telling Nigerians within 4 years, we intend to increase X, expand irrigation by Y, establish Z, processing facility, reduce post-harvest losses by X percentage, and create measurable export capacity. Whether eventual numbers are those exact figures is another matter. The point is that Nigerians need measurable commitments. That will separate Obi from politicians who make beautiful speeches but disappear when it's time to measure results. Thirdly, he needs to confront the biggest weakness in his political coalition. This is particularly important because of Kwankwaso. Obi and Kwankwaso have very different political identity and regional basis. Obi acknowledged that they have different backgrounds and experiences, but said they share objectives of improving Nigerians' life. Excellent. That is a reasonable answer, but it isn't enough. That is a reasonable answer, but it isn't enough. The campaign need to explain the Obi-Kwankwaso partnership much more forcefully. Nigerians will ask, why Obi-Kwankwaso? What does each man bring to the table, to the coalition? Who handles what? What happens when they disagree? Will they disagree? Yes. It's what happens when they disagree. What is their shared national vision? Why should a voter in Lagos, Kano, Rivers, Enugu, Kaduna, Borno, or Delta believe this is a genuinely national government? The campaign should turn the perceived difference between the two men into an advantage. For example, Obi equals to economic management, fiscal discipline, enterprise, and investment. Kwankwaso equals to northern political reach, infrastructure, human capital experience, and a different regional perspective. But the campaign must present this as one government, one agenda, one Nigeria. Fourth, Obi needs to become more emotionally presidential. This is an area where I think he can improve dramatically. Go and watch the first video that I dropped. I've been saying it. He's supposed to look presidential. Obi doesn't look presidential. Go and watch the first video that I dropped on my what I observe. Obi needs to become more emotionally presidential. This is an area where I think he can improve dramatically. Obi's strength is data, discipline, and economics. But presidents are not elected by spreadsheet alone. People want to hear, I know what you are suffering. But then they also want, and this is what I'm going to do about it. I don't know why my allergies are disturbing me. Okay, the second half needs to become much stronger. Imagine Obi speaking directly to the Nigerian mother who cannot afford food, the graduate who has spent years looking for employment, the farmer who cannot safely reach his farm, the business owner paying for diesel because electricity is unreliable, the students sitting in an overcrowded classrooms, the young Nigerians thinking about leaving the country. Then he says, I'm not asking you to believe in miracles. I'm asking you to judge us by measurable results. That is the kind of language that can turn an economic message into a national movement. Fifth, he should attack policies, not personalities. There's one area where I actually think Obi's approach today was smart. He challenged opponents to defend their record rather than simply insulting them. Okay, that is excellent. Okay, he should keep doing this from time to time. But he needs to become much more aggressive intellectually. For example, okay, here is the government policy. Here is what I promise. Here is the result. Here is what we will do differently. Okay, that is devastatingly effective political communications because it allows voters to make the comparison themselves. Instead of Tinubu has failed, okay, so for instance, instead of say Tinubu has failed, say this was the promise, this is the measurable outcome, this is what Nigeria are experiencing, here is our alternatives. Identify where Tinubu has failed and then counter with your own alternative. Balance the equation. What the citizens are looking for is the alternative. We all know Tinubu has failed. Give us the alternative. That sounds more presidential. Sixth, he needs to speak beyond already converted obedient. Okay? He needs to speak beyond already converted obedient audience. This is perhaps the most important political lesson. The people already convinced about Obi don't need another speech telling them Obi is good. The question, how does he win people who are not obedient? The campaign must deliberately speak to APC voters, PDP voters, NMPP voters, Atiku supporters, Kwankwaso supporters, first-time voters, older voters, northern voters, southern voters, Christians, Muslims, traditional communities, business owners, workers, and farmers. His statement that the campaign should be free from ethnic and religious politics is therefore particularly important also. But he has to demonstrate it continuously, not merely announcing it. So does Peter Obi look like a president in waiting? Let's answer that question. Does Peter Obi look like a president in waiting? My answer particularly, but not completely yet. If I were scoring the presentation strictly as a presidential campaign opening, okay, area of my assessment. Okay, in terms of policy seriousness, I'll give him 9/10. In terms of economic messages, I'll give him 8.5 over 10. In terms of statesmanship, I'll give him 8 over 10. In terms of national tone, I'll give him 8 over 10. In terms of clarity, I'll give him 8 over 10. Emotional connection, 6.5 over 10. Political aggression, 6.6 over 10. Specific implementation plan, 6.5 over 10. Presidential authority, 5.5 over 10. Memorable campaign identity, 7.5 over 10. Overall, on the whole speech, it's about 7.5 over 10. That is a good beginning, but not yet the kind of launch that makes the entire political establishment say, wow, the next president of Nigeria has arrived. And that's the standard I will set for Obi if I'm the campaign manager. What should Obi do from here? What should Obi do from here? I will recommend that his campaign evolve into 5 powerful pillars. Okay, they have to evolve into 5 powerful pillars. 1, give Nigerians the first 100 days plan, not 50 promises. 10 major actions. Tell Nigerians exactly what will happen immediately. 2, give Nigerians 4-year scorecard for every major sector. Where Nigerians is today, where Obi was once it, and how he will measure the success. That creates accountability before he even enters the office. Thirdly, make Nigeria must work the emotional umbrella. The slogan should become bigger than Obi. Nigeria must work for the farmers, for the trader, for the students, for the entrepreneur, for the civil servants, for the unemployed graduate, for the northern family, for the southern family, for every Nigerian. That transforms a campaign slogan into a national philosophy. Fourth, take the campaign directly to Nigerians, not compatriots. Take the campaign directly to Nigerians. Obi himself said candidates should travel across the length and breadth of the country, meet people and answer the questions. Fantastic. He should now do exactly that. Not only rallies, town halls, universities, markets, factories, okay, farms, churches, or the mosques, transport hubs, okay, or business communities, or religious leaders, northern communities, southern communities, okay, he should do that. Okay, he must visit those areas from the north to the south, east to the west. Niger Delta community also included, and most importantly, let Nigerians ask him difficult questions. That would extremely be powerful when he stands before the citizens to answer difficult questions. Because when you're on that seat, you're going to make a difficult question. Debate everyone. This could become one of Obi's biggest opportunity. Debate, force them to the podium. Debate that is one of your biggest weapons. Tell Tinubu, tell Atiku, tell Kwankwaso, your running mates, we need to debate them. Tell every serious presidential candidate, there's no time hiding under the wall. Bring your records, bring your numbers, bring your plans. Let's sit before Nigerians and debate. That will fit perfectly with the message he launched today. Now, this is my strongest criticism, friends. If Obi wants to become president in waiting, he must stop looking merely like the best alternative to the current government. He needs to start looking like the government that is already preparing to take over. Please, you guys should go and watch my first video on my concerns, my observation on his speech today. Okay, he needs to start looking like the government that is already preparing to take over. There is a huge difference. An opposing candidate says, look at how badly Nigerians being governed. A president in waiting says, this is the condition we are inheriting. This is what we will do in the first 100 days. This is what Nigerians will look like after 1 year. This is what Nigerians, should hold us accountable for after 4 years. That is the transformation we need to make. Today's speech established the case for change. The next phase must establish the case for Obi, and the case cannot simply be Obi is better. It has to become what? Here is the government we are building. Here is the people's building. Here are the people's building it. Here are the policies. Here are the numbers. Here are the timelines. Here are the targets. And here is how Nigerians will know whether we succeeded. That is when P2B stops looking like a presidential candidate hoping to win and start looking like a president in waiting, preparing to govern. Today's launch was therefore promising serious and credible but unfinished plan. The real test begins now. The real test begins now. Okay? The real test begins now. I rest my case. I hope you guys enjoy my reactions. Please, I would like to hear from you guys. Let me read from your comments. Let's share your comments and your opinions all together. And also don't forget to share this page. All right. I'll look forward to see your response on my comment sections. If you have not even joined the page, please do not forget to subscribe to my page. All right. I encourage you to subscribe to my page and go to my page. I have tons of video there. You could see all my reactions to the national issues. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. The next video I'm going to be dropping is for the delegates visit to the Aso Rock. I'm going to drop my reaction next. Bye-bye.